Good evening and welcome to Indic Academy. And it's lovely to have a conversation with you today on Women's Day and Shivratri. We welcome Srimati Manjula Tekal. She is a contributing author of Aryaa, an anthology on Vedic women, and she has written on Nala and Damayanti. So please, could you let us know why did you choose this particular story and how is it relevant today on women's?
Thank you very much. First off, thanks for inviting me and happy Women's Day to you. I feel, how is it relevant, right, to today's situation? I feel a lot of our stories are absolutely relevant even today, basically because, see, look at Damayanti for instance. The idea of, love at first sight, or love with the concept of love, and the constancy, of being in love forever and ever more, that kind of a thing, that are absolutely evergreen, it is relevant today, it was relevant yesterday, it was going to be relevant tomorrow also. The contributing situations perhaps will change, but the idea of being in love and being, constantly supportive to one's spouse, that probably will never change. And as an aside, I don't know, this is my own experience or observation or whatever. I feel a successful marriage is the one that actually contributes to building wealth, that contributes to having, successful and loving and, productive children. So obviously, if our people actually, emphasized success, successful marriage, it actually makes complete sense that, it is absolutely like important to have a successful marriage. I'm not saying like, you sacrifice everything or for the sake of a successful marriage or something like that. What I'm talking about is that being aware that a successful marriage has to be like, of paramount importance, and what is it that you bring to the table and what is it that you are going to support in a spouse. And if I don't believe in quote unquote sacrifice per se, I mean, you never ever sacrifice. I feel, everything you do is for your own self. There is that famous saying, Atma's Kama is. So everything that you do in life is only for your own self. But in as much as when you are actually quote unquote sacrificing for a spouse or for marriage or something like that, you're always thinking about the greater good, the greater ideal, greater everything. So I don't believe in sacrifice per se, but yes, successful marriage is of paramount importance and it's relevant even today, I think. And why did I choose it? I don't know. I like Damayanti as a character. She's a fantastic, it's a soft character, it's like very beautiful character. And with all that, she's brilliant, she's smart, she's like, she's a strategist. She's got a strategic vision and she's focusing on her vision. And if she's pursuing the safety of her spouse, it's only because she's got a larger vision in her mind.
I actually like Nala a lot. Because of course Damayanti herself chooses him over to her Swayambara over the Devatas also.
Right.
And coming from a family that likes horse riding, I find he's very unique in that. Plus, he also cooks very well, which today is aspirational for many men.
Yes.
So clearly, he's a person who's actually head and shoulders above many men. He's also from a royal family. So it's not that Damayanti is trying to go only because she's married to him, but he's also a person with very high and valuable followings.
Absolutely.
So
What
what are
he's supposed to be like, he was supposed to be very handsome also.
Oh, yeah. So where do we get that information from? And like, what was Amson yeah in those days?
That's that's a direct quote actually. In Mahabharata, they say I don't remember the Sanskrit verse, but it basically when beauty marries beauty or something like that, the results are extraordinary or something like that.
She's also very
She's
described as
She's very beautiful, and then he is very beautiful, and he's a horses were, you know, the yeah. My son rides horses. How in your family they like
yeah, my
horse riding?
husband and son.
Awesome.
And my husband has a blog called the Indian Horseman, where he actually quoted Nala.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I'll share that with you. But I think those who ride horses, they find there's a beautiful bond between the animal and the person, and I think that is what Damayanti finally to realizes that he must be her husband. Wasn't it one of the cues that he was a good horse rider and horse trainer?
Yes. When Bahuka's horse, the chariot comes in, there's a familiar twang, the sounds of the chariot and stuff. And then she goes out and sees, but she doesn't find him. Bahuka is going inside. Who is this person? It's all.
That's such a wonderful clue that only a person who's either with animals or with horses would be able to recognize. Because they say you can recognize, like you said, a horse whisperer. I mean, you can recognize by the smell or by the way they name or the way they look, their mouths, their horse. There are so many clues, and she is able to actually recognize that.
Actually, I had this story. My son hadn't cinched his, that saddle properly, and then it came under. So he was going to fall off or something like that. Some big problem had happened. But that's what I mean. He basically told me these are all stories that I get to hear. I don't like human horses, right? So he tells me that he has an instructor. He's also his taekwondo master. My son is taekwondo guy. So he apparently said, don't direct your horse too much. Don't tell her what to do too much. Don't tighten the rein. Don't give her the freedom to move about. I don't know exactly what the expression is, but you have to give her the leeway to move about the way she wants. And then he had to learn that. I mean, basically, trust the horse to do the right thing, and then she will do whatever is needed. It's an older mare, my son's thing. So when the unstitching happened, he was about to fall off and he slowed down, and then she brought him in. So, yeah.
I think there's so many life lessons which we can learn from a sport like this. There's a quote which says, be the kind of person that your horse would follow. So maybe Nala was having that quality, which Damayanti. So in your storytelling, I think you tell from her perspective.
Yeah.
So is that something you chose to do consciously because of the way the book was conceptualized?
I like Nala. I like the concept of Nala. Like you said, bro, he's this handsome guy on riding a magnificent horse, and he's a fantastic. He's loving and all that stuff. So, on the whole, he's a very romantic figure. He cuts an extremely romantic figure. But that being said, right, I feel she's the stronger person. I mean, she is the one who kind of like Draupadi, right? I mean, almost like, and she kind of takes the reins, and then she's the one who puts her children in her parents' place so that they be safe. And even then, like when he abandons her, she walks through the forest on her own. And then the way she finds him is amazing. Like so, all in all, right? She's the smart person. She's got a vision of how life is going to be. So all in all, I think I find her the stronger person. And yeah. So obviously it had to be told in a voice.
Yeah. So is there any explanation for why he did what he did? And of course, in the end, everything is becomes already. But what was, the reason for him leaving and getting into gambling? And
That's the thing, right?
is there a psychological, is that a kind of story that we need to understand about the way he
Yeah,
thought?
I mean, yeah, I have been thrown all kinds of weird questions about this. See, they say the Kali Shah had entered his body, and then he was the one who was misdirecting him and all that. And then even the things, the dice, it was like, the Vapra and Kali and all that. They even take away his Veshti and all that stuff, right? So, but I don't know, in the modern parlance, if you have to talk about that, I don't think, he had this deep NOI on the, sorry, I mean, what's the right pronunciation? On the board of like, he's successful, but there are no more new frontiers to conquer. He's bored. And then, I don't know. He's got this gambling instinct. Frankly, I don't know how the gambler psychology works. But once the gambling bug is in, they're addicted to gambling just like they're addicted to drink. So I don't know, maybe we have to study gambling
Yeah,
psychology.
I think even gambling and horse riding is very closely connected
Are they?
because of the races and you take risks, favor a certain horse. And it comes to
Betting on the horses.
yeah. So in a way you lose. They say it's the same psychology because you bid on some horse and it's not actually earning money. It's about
Winning.
yeah, winning kind of lot easy money, which is what gambling is also.
But I don't know. The horse riding itself as a sport is versus
Yeah.
horse riding
As a
betting on horses.
Yeah.
I don't
Probably didn't happen in most.
maybe I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's probably more British
Yeah.
invention, European invention. I don't know.
So how do we make these stories interesting for you are from you are settled in the US and you mentioned that you want to look at young audiences of 25 to 45. I mean people of my generation would be interested in looking at these stories, revisiting these stories. How do we get new audiences to read our stories?
Yeah, that's a challenge I'm actually grappling with in some sense because I want my kids to be absolutely familiar. Familiar is such a big word. They want I want them to revel in these stories like I have actually. When I was growing up, I used to read Kannada stories about novels and everything. Like everything that I could lay my hands on, I would read. And then I used to really enjoy them. And then the translation, the impulse to translate all those old books, it is coming from there. Those books which I've totally enjoyed, those are the books I'm trying to translate into English today. But I'm still grappling with the challenge of how to get my children's generation to read those books actually. So what is happening is, I mean, even here I feel that's a challenge. I mean, it's not a challenge of people like us who are settled abroad. We have the challenge because most of us are, now adapting English as the primary language. And even when we speak our own mother tongue, right, our children's generation, they're learning the mother tongue, Telugu or Kannada or whatever, in relation to English. How do we say this? I mean, that is the question that first comes. So so that is the idea. Like basically, I would love to write in Kannada, but I would like to translate everything into English just so they can actually read and stuff. Now, how best to make it interesting is I don't know. I'm trying the formula that serving everything in terms of let us say a war story or a love story. That is my primary thing. That is what I'm trying to do. Hopefully, I what I do will find some kind of a resonance with my children's generation. My kids, some of them, I mean, they have read. I constantly seek feedback from them. They are the people who should be reading my books, and that's what I want them to. So they have the young adult kind of novels and stuff. There's a language difference. It is the same English, but idiom is slightly different. So mastering that idiom probably is going to be a little more challenging or whatever. But yeah, that's my aim. Let me answer this question in a better way once I actually hit upon the right formula.
Yeah, I think a lot of youngsters today want it in very quick versions. They want audio. They don't want to read. They want to hear
Yes.
it. So maybe our literature, our language may actually be more appealing if they are listening to it in variation. They may have a difficulty reading the script, but listening, I think it's something that should come intuitively to
Yeah, but then again, that's the same problem. We have to be able to serve it to them in the idiom that they are comfortable with. So, and that is exactly what I'm trying to do. But yeah, keeping my fingers crossed and hoping for the best.
And what is your next? You've given up a successful IT job, and now you've taken up the writing. So, how does the transition, was it difficult? And here, there's no steady income or there's no steady professional life in writing. So, is that something a challenge to new writers?
I'm sure it's going to be. I mean, if you're going to, uh, yeah, breaking into the field, I think can be challenging. As any field, I think, breaking into a new field, any new field is going to be challenging. And there are so many wonderful writers out there in the field right now. I can, my own peers, all of them are so good. There is Deepak and Mari talking about him. And then there is, there is Arun Krishnan. And all of them are awesome writers. And yeah, so
What about writers in Kannada? Do you have a big crop of
youngsters.
youngsters?
Yeah, I mean, youngsters, I don't know, but established, yes. And I have grown up reading Babu Krishnamurthy and then Kesan and Acharya. I love them, totally love them. I have translated Kesan and Acharya in English, and it is called The Last Moments of Krishna's Life. And that's one of the two things that I am about to translate. That was a book that my father had enjoyed. And I learned of that when I was actually doing the translation for the book, and then it's a lovely book. I hope people like it. Whatever I have, the feedback that I have obtained, it's actually very good. But how many youngsters have read it, I don't know. That is still out there.
So what do you think is, what is the beauty of such story? Is it the novelty of a different kind of interpretation, or is it the language, or is it the setting of a different era? What is it that makes those stories memorable?
I guess each one is kind of different in its own way, but if you are asking me about the last minutes of Krishna's life, so basically what he's trying to do in that book is, the Yadavas are they have fought with each other and then they're all dead. And Krishna is hit by the arrow, his ankle is hurt, he's like, and then he's waiting for Arjuna to come. Finally, by the time he dies, Arjuna is not in love. So Arjuna comes only after he's passed away. So while he's lying there waiting for Arjuna to come, his life passes into he sees his past life in front of his eyes. So then he reviews, like he has this mental conversation with all the main characters that have been there in his life. And then he talks to Draupadi in his mind. He talks to his mothers, three mothers, Putana being one of them. So he talks to all of them in his mind. So all the mental conversations, just when he's leaving this page, that's the that's the theme of the novel. And the conversations are mind-boggling. I mean, he has a conversation with Karna. He challenges, like, what did you do? What's the rights and the wrongs that you have done in your life, kind of thing. And then he's deeply sympathetic to Putana. Can you believe this? And Draupadi. And he reviews their lives. And then he passes away. Then Arjuna comes. Okay. So basically, the central theme of the novel is the mental conversations that Krishna has with all the characters in this. It's like very nice, actually. So you learn about the Samantaka diamond, and you have conversations with Draupadi on what she has lost and gained in life. And yeah.
So do you think being in most of the authoresses here women, so being a woman writer, does it affect the way or influence the way the story is told?
Actually, I should not think so, but I do actually think so. Because I feel as though I know men should be, in theory, equally be capable of representing women's ideas and thoughts just the way men are. But I feel there are nuances that only a woman can, write or tell. How would you feel? Don't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Especially, in a world where women are expected to be equal or to be doing things that men do. There's a part of us that we ourselves, are suppressed. So
Totally right.
you want to be able to be the breadwinner equally. You want to be the one who drives the car, drives the kids around. You want to do all the bank work, the football mom in the US. So you do things even physically. Like a dancer was saying, like in Bharatanatyam, there are certain steps or certain currents which are what women were not supposed to be during certain times of their life. So, but now they're doing everything. So because we want to be seen, everything should be there. So I do think that that this is one way of rediscovering how we are different as women, and what are our sensibilities which make us.
I feel as though women are forgetting their femininity completely. So it's like they want to repudiate that part of their persona. They want to be equal to men so much that they're forgetting how to be women. They don't want to be a lot of things. I mean, they don't. Motherhood somehow is relegated to the thing. To be a wife is somehow relegated to the. It's not. It's very unconscious, and equally, I feel as though men are forgetting how to be men. They're becoming so. I don't know, the way things are going is not exactly so very nice. I think we have to be able to achieve whatever life goals that we are going to achieve. We can do the same things, but make sure that we don't forget our essential feminine core or the masculine core, and try to achieve the same objectives of life. In our parlance, the Purusharthas of life.
One interesting thing which I found with her story as well as Subhadra's story, like whenever there was a difficulty, the maternal home somehow miraculously comes and
Right.
saves them, which is such a sense of security and assurance.
Yes.
So how is this concept of maternal home, like we say my care, how important is it in our culture, mothers, and what the father has taught about her, what values have been passed on from them? Obviously, these women would have got married at a very young age, but they still have this connection, deep connection, especially in these stories where they recognize her and they take her back to her.
I suspect it is because of stories. I see that's again I'm framing everything in terms of stories, right? I mean, you have to be able to tell stories to the kids so that there is that core of the value system is propagated through stories. And grandmothers used to be telling all these stories. And I still remember my grandmother used to tell me stories. My dad was such a fantastic storyteller. My goodness, I remember, Bharanamita's story. He would tell the story in such vivid detail. Or even now, as an older person who's even lost her father now, I just have to close my eyes to remember that Nilapada Savar, hero type thing. And then I can still, the moment I hear it, I almost tear up. I used to literally cry every time he used to tell these stories. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, this is the only way I feel, to the best of my knowledge, the way I know, this is the best way to connect with children. To be able to tell stories the way it is meant to be told. We are losing that storytelling culture completely because we are we are becoming too busy in our homes, which is what I mean by not losing the essential feminine core. To be able to sit at night and then talk about meaningless things and talk about all kinds of moonshine and stars and you know that is the way to go back and connect, and that is the way you actually improve your language skills also, which is another part that we are kind of losing, which makes me very anxious. I should be able to write in Kannada and English so that I can reach that audience. That's coming back to the same loop all over again. I'm sorry, but
No, I agree because I have memories of being in fourth standard in Bombay, and our history teacher would tell stories of Shivaji. And that was the only class. It used to be after lunch break, and we used to run and come to attend. It was not a history class. So schools were often places where we heard good stories. I'm not sure that because today with the pressure of syllabus, completing syllabus, and every age Vijayanagara Empire is covered in a quarter of a chapter, not even a mention sometimes. So schools as storytelling opportunities, or where children can learn about our history, is almost gone. So I think the onus is now on parents and the immediate community to make preserve this tradition.
that brings up the next challenge, which basically is the community is so one person is someplace, another person is another place, and we are all over spread out all over the globe actually, not just all over India. So with that, getting them together and then finding that common core of language and stories, that's ever more challenging. And then that is exactly what I think we have to be able to do. I don't know, sometimes I think maybe we should just go to schools and then start telling them stories. I or just go to these apartment complexes and just start telling them stories. Perhaps I don't know. End of the day, it goes back to the storytelling and then
There is a doubt.
engage.
Dance who I interviewed, Srimati Anand. She during the pandemic got children to tell stories. So she says when our grandmothers are no longer there to tell stories, or grandmothers no longer are the source of stories. Art will tell the stories. So you mentioned you're interested in when you're learning music. So how do you see art as being, you mentioned Sahitya also being is important. So how is art important in telling stories and having this connect to our culture?
Actually, that is another thing. I feel as though, insofar as children in the US are concerned, I think Chinmaya Mission is doing a lot of good work. I mean, they are like learning stories to some extent. But I feel like art perhaps has been more successful in that realm. A lot of people learn Carnatic music and Hindustani classical music and all that stuff. Actually, my own kids, especially my son, he's very talented. He's even though he's not been doing much, he's a good singer and all that. So I'm hoping that someday, he'll be able to learn music. Same thing. So when you actually learn music, right, it kind of connects them to the Sahitya also. So you are curious about, oh, what does this word mean? Why is he using this word in this context? All those things. So it's a vehicle for you to actually learn the language through music, which has happened actually. Even in my case, I believe I learned whatever this batting of India. I learned Hindi through Hindi music. So yeah, I think that can happen, and even stories can go through music. I I used to love Venkathas and all that stuff. So yeah, uh, I think that is a fantastic medium through which you can get stories.
So wonderful to speak to you on this day. And I hope we can have many more conversations, and I hope we can benefit from your skills and your knowledge every time you come back in the
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.